The small aircraft lifted gently into the sky just after sunrise. 17-year-old Daniel sat beside the window, watching the mountains stretch endlessly below. It was supposed to be a short flight across the rugged peaks, just a routine trip with the pilot and 2 other passengers. The sky was clear. The air was calm. Nothing felt dangerous, but mountains can change everything in seconds. About 40 minutes into the flight, the plane suddenly shook. At first, it was just a small vibration. Then the engine coughed, once, twice, and then fell silent. The propeller slowed. The pilot's face turned pale. "Hold on," he shouted. The plane began to drop. Outside the window, the mountains rushed closer and closer. Daniel gripped his seat as the aircraft plunged through cold air. Snow-covered peaks surrounded them on every side. The pilot tried to guide the plane toward a narrow valley, but there was no runway, no road, only endless wilderness. Then came the impact. The sound of metal tearing through trees echoed across the mountains. When Daniel opened his eyes, everything was quiet, too quiet. The plane had crashed deep in the mountains. The front of the aircraft was crushed against broken trees. Snow covered the wreckage like a white blanket. Daniel was alive, but the others weren't moving. He called out. No one answered. For a moment, fear froze him completely. He was alone miles away from any town. No phone signal. No roads, no help. Just mountains and the freezing wind. Daniel stepped out of the broken plane and looked around. Towering cliffs surrounded the valley. Snow stretched in every direction. He realized something terrifying. No one knew exactly where they had crashed. Search teams would be looking, but the mountains were huge. If he wanted to survive, he had to think carefully. The first night was the hardest. Temperatures dropped far below freezing. Daniel climbed back inside the wreckage to stay out of the wind. He used pieces of fabric and insulation from the seats to keep warm. Hunger came quickly, so did exhaustion. But he remembered something he once heard in a survival program. Stay near the crash site. It's the easiest place for rescuers to find. The next morning, Daniel searched the plane for supplies. He found a small emergency kit, a flashlight, a whistle, 2 energy bars, and a small emergency blanket. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Days passed slowly in the silent mountains. Daniel melted snow for water. He built a signal using broken metal pieces and branches. Every few hours he climbed onto a rock and blew the whistle, hoping someone might hear it. But the mountains remained silent. By the 4th day, Daniel felt weaker. The cold nights were draining his strength. He wondered if anyone would ever find the wreckage hidden deep between the mountains. Then, late that afternoon, he heard something. A distant sound. At first it was faint, then louder. A helicopter. Daniel jumped to his feet. His heart pounded. He grabbed the emergency blanket and ran into the open snowfield. The silver blanket flashed brightly in the sunlight as he waved it wildly. The helicopter passed overhead. For a terrifying moment, it kept flying. Then suddenly it turned. The aircraft circled back toward the valley. Snow blew everywhere as it descended. Rescuers rushed out and ran toward him. One of them wrapped Daniel in a thick jacket. "You're safe now," the man said. Daniel looked back at the crashed plane one last time. 4 days alone in the mountains. For days fighting the cold, the silence, and the fear. But he survived, because he stayed calm. Because he didn't give up. And because sometimes, survival begins with one simple decision. Keep going. Please don't forget to subscribe the channel. Like and share with your friends for more incredible videos, and thank you for watching.